All right. Hey guys, this is Yoda. This will be the last masterclass video. We're doing a pack by pack guide of Black Rook Hold. This is after they changed the mini boss, so you can't pull mobs away from it and without aggroing it. This is going to be the 32 fortified that my group did last week. So we start on this side. I'm a paladin again, so I can only control 2 casters with the group. So my priest is going to be CCing this, and then we kill it later. On Tyrannical, I think it's kind of fine to just pull this in, but on Fort, you really want to not let it be letting these casts go off. So yeah, we pull these. So the way our interrupts are working here is we're going to be doing my solo on this counselor, DPS solo, or DPS rotating on this counselor, and all AoE stops are for the retainer soul blades. So that's how our interrupts work. On this protector, when you cast Sacrifice Soul, you want to be focusing him. Like everything around him takes less damage, and he takes massively increased damage. As you can see, he's like dead. So yeah, you want to be hitting him during Sacrifice Soul. There is a tactic where you like bring the mobs over here to the wall, then you knock them away from him when he's casting that, which I kind of like, but it's hard to execute properly. So we just blow up the protector and then proceed with the pull, basically. So yeah, that's this pull. AoE stops retainers, you solo one counselor, group hits the other one. Once a counselor's dead, you can pull the next counselor since it's only 2 casters still. If you see like casts about to go off, you can sack. Or if you're playing it, you can spell word in this pull. I opted not to do it this run because I like the Consecrate slow, especially on Spiteful. But if you're not playing Consecrate slow, you can probably play Spell Ward in this dungeon. It's pretty good in a few spots. Alright, so we finish off the counselor, then we invis this. Somehow my invis broke, which is really tragic in the 32. I'm pretty sure my Consecrate hit the Spiteful and that made my Rage Heart tick, I think is my theory. But yeah. Alright, so then we go to this boss. This boss solo is kind of a snooze fest. He does a frontal, just like aim it to the side. These things, your melee, like your range, have to dodge, and he also does soul echoes, but I'm a tank, so I don't have to really deal with it. If you're a melee, try to drop 3 and then move, or 2 and then move if you want to be super safe, and that's pretty much it. The rest of this boss is just a tank and spank. At 50, he goes to the middle, and he starts spawning these ads. We have a Druid Root one outside, so the way this works is, if all of the ads are eaten or dead, then he starts his cast. He does like his super cast and then goes back to doing mechanics. If one ad is rooted outside, then he won't do anything until 15%. So basically we have all that time from now till 15 to freely DPS him without dealing with mechanics. That's why we root one ad outside. If he eats ads, you may need to use sack, but like most groups can deal with this cast. This boss is like kind of needs to be buffed. His AoE does no damage unless he eats ads. But yeah, your sack is available. Spell word if people need it. Make sure you check. So yeah, super easy boss. After this boss, we have been pulling this thing again. Now that we don't pull extra trash like with the first. Now we don't pull like before. You would pull trash away from the first mini boss, so you never had to fight any mini bosses. They fixed that, so now we just do this mini boss pull after the boss. The way kicks work here is I'm soloing the counselor and my group is kicking the lord. I do the first kick on the lord just to get him in. But yeah, I like soloing the counselor because I can use Hodge to like basically fill the gap if I run out of procs. I can't do that if I solo the lord, so I'll be soloing the counselor. There is a patrol that goes into this room. That's why I'm fighting in the corner here. That way no one can pull the patrol. We do focus the counselor here. Once the counselor's dead, I can basically solo kicks on the lord again, so no one's in danger of dying to kicks. And that's that. There's soul echoes here. You want to drop 2, then move, then 2, then move, or 3, then move if you're feeling spicy. Couple retainers. We can use AoE stops on those, but especially in lower keys, they don't matter as much. All right, so once the lord dies, we're going to move on to the spiders. So these spiders are really dangerous for tanks. The way one cheese a lot of people do is if you have a shield, bigger than the spider's melee hit, then when the spider hits you, you will not receive a debuff. If you don't have a shield, then you get a debuff. And that's kind of dangerous once you get stacks because you're like running up the stairs. So you're probably LOS of a healer who can't dispel you. So while we're running up, we want to be having a Rage Heart up or Mass Barrier or just all of them at once, just in case. If you're playing Spell Warding, this is a great place to use Spell Warding. So yeah, I tend to, if I'm playing Spell Warding, I'll usually Spell Ward first pull and then have Spell Warding here. I don't Spell Ward the last boss. But with Rage Heart, it's kind of chill. The way we do it is I'll just Rage Heart in the opener so I get to my spot, like basically unharmed without the healer. Then we do Healer Dispel into Dwarf, into Healer Dispel again, into Bubble, into Healer Dispel again, and hopefully they're dead. We also have Priest, so we can Mass Dispel, but it turns out to be not that necessary. But yeah, I dip in here for a couple spiders because we need all accounts from them. Rage Heart allows me to get to the spot, basically unmolested. The shield you get from using Toll, like Bulwark of Order, is pretty strong, but you know, not super strong, so we do get stacks here. So that was the spell into Dwarf. Then I'm going to let him dispel again once I get stacks. Bulwark of Order is actually giving me a massive shield here, which is nice. With Consecrate Slow, I can kind of cut the Spiderlings too if I don't want to bubble, but I ended up having to bubble anyway, so we bubble. If the spiders are still alive, then it's Dispel. On Tyrannical, you can pull this into the next pull. On Fortified, I find it kind of spicy. You can do it, but you know, it's just harder, risky, or whatever. So in this pull, we have an Archer, an Arcanist, and the Scout. The Scout you can't contribute that much to unless you play like Short Hodge or Turn Evil. You can kind of help, but generally the tank is actually getting hit kind of hard in this pull because of the Spider and the two champions. So usually other people should take care of that. If you're playing VDH, you can do everything and not be in trouble too. But for Paladin, you want to be basically just kicking the Arcanist. You can stop some Scouts, but you're not expected to solo it, I don't think, as a Paladin. This pull does kind of hurt the tank too, so make sure you're sending your cooldowns. Always having something up. There, I think it's Goak into Tier, and then after Tier, I think I'm in a bit of trouble, so I'll be like watching my health bar very closely, and I'll be like calling for help, basically. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're soloing kicks on the Arcanist, the group is getting Scout, and we're focusing down the Archer. After that pull, we go here. We do a little tech here. So if you see, let me go back. I have the Druid root, this cat, the companion. So we're only fighting basically the Archer and two Scouts. You want to minimize like the unavoidable damage going on in your group from these pulls. And Archers and companions basically are dangerous because they're unavoidable. So we pull the Archer basically and two Scouts. The cat we keep rooted, and that root is actually very useful, as you'll see later. So here we're focusing the Archer. There's two Scouts, so we're doing stops on them. And you also want to be aiming these frontals from the champions into the corner as much as you can. So that's why I'm positioned here. Once the Archer jumps, I'll probably like go to the Archer and then just aim them to the wall near the Archer. So that's this pull. Then we'll show the companion. So since this companion is in combat and rooted, we know that his ability is going to be queued and off cooldown, and he's going to use it as soon as the root breaks. So that's, and I'm going to hodge it midair basically. So I break the root, he leaps in, and then I hodge him, boom, no one gets a bleed. Then I'm just going to go run on top of him, and we focus him down. He should jump like 1 to 2 more times before he dies, but it's a really nice start to like basically in combat with him. If he doesn't get his first bleed off and he's stunned. I think he gets 1 jump. Yeah, there's 1. He doesn't jump again. So that cat can cause like massive headaches to your group if you don't take care of him, like basically the way that we just did. So yeah, I think that's a good play that people can do. All right, next we're going to this pull. This pull is double Archer, so there's a lot of unavoidable damage for your group. I think we lusted this. This pull, I think, is harder than the next one. It's 2 double Archer pulls in a row. It's actually three are double Archer pulls in a row, but this one I think is the hardest because there's the Arcanist and his companion. This companion is like jumping around, forcing your casters to move around. And that positioning can get really awkward with Arrow Barrage or trying to LOS the Archers. So I think this is the hardest pull, so we lust it. Yeah, there's the lust. You do have to take care of the Arcanist, obviously, as a Paladin. Your group can technically rotate interrupts, but I find it a lot easier if I'm taking care of the Arcanist and they're just focusing on like surviving the Archers. This is a very, very dangerous pull. This one and the next one are both extremely dangerous. So I'm focusing on the Arcanist here and having the group basically just live against double archer. Make sure you're dragging the mobs to the archers after they jump out, just so your group gets decent cleave. Here, I'm going to show how we start this pull. So these archers will, if they're not an LOS of their main target, they will like walk instead of shooting. So I find this pillar to be very useful to group them. Also, I see a lot of people standing like here. If you stand here, you're at grave risk, in grave danger of being meleeed. So this is a bad spot. I have my group stand like in a corner, like off to the side here. And I also stand here to LOS the archers in, which groups the pack up pretty nicely, I think. If these archers jump out, you can LOS them. So I think I'll try to LOS this archer. Yeah, I'm standing here. He's barraging, so it doesn't help that much. Yeah, so once I realize that's not going to help, I just walk to this wall and hit this archer. All right, so that's that pull. Another double archer pull, but this one's a lot easier since it's basically only 2 archers and 1 frontal guy, but this guy's a joke, basically. In this pull, in this area, you can use the LOS like strat on these archers quite a bit. It's quite a bit more useful. Our group had cooldowns though, so don't end up having to use it. So we get to this boss. This boss is pretty easy for the tank. Like on a 32, the shear starts kind of hurting a little bit, so you have to have a cooldown, but she doesn't do it often enough that it matters really. I'm pretty sure if you have Consecrated and Shield of the Righteous, it won't one-shot you from full either, so yeah, not that scary. The main danger is these glaives. If you have an Evoker, this is a lot easier because Cauterize takes this off. If you don't have an Evoker, then you want to be looking to sack or bop. If she targets the same person twice with glaive, you want to be sacking or bopping that. And then also glaive plus Dark Rush, you want to be sacking on that too. Those are the 2 situations you want to use your externals on. She spawns an Arcanist and a Vanguard. Let me show you how I pull it too. So we enter the ad phase. As soon as she spawns the Arcanist, I can use Divine Toll. That Divine Toll hits this Arcanist and also the Vanguard that's off screen. So I don't have to worry about aggro. If you don't have Toll here, you have to shield this Arcanist, then turn your camera towards here and taunt the Vanguard. Otherwise, he can melee your allies and that's bad. So there's only 1 caster, you just rotate kicks. As a Paladin, you can solo the Arcanist, so try to do that, but you know, there's only 1 caster, so your group can also just rotate kicks. It's not a big deal. These frontals, you want to be pointing them like off the edge here, not towards the boss, so your melee basically don't lose uptime and also aren't at risk of dying. And that's pretty much the whole boss. For Dark Rush also, when Dark Rush is coming up, it's kind of nice to position the boss toward a side. That way your group all knows like, oh, he's going to this side, so I should also put the rest of my puddles on that side. If you keep the boss in the middle, then the middle can become polluted when she goes up to do I-beam, and then it's harder to do DPS, and that's bad. So you want to bring the boss to the edge, like to a side basically when you're fighting her. All right, so that's this boss. Kind of easy, to be honest. All right, next we're going up the stairs. These rocks, by the way, you want to be positioning in the middle of the stairwell so it's easier to dodge left or right. You don't want to be like on the far left or the far right, so that way it's harder to dodge if you do that. So this pull I see a lot of people struggle with. It's important for you to know that this pull hurts a lot on grouping, so you want to be using cooldowns basically very, very early, and if you have to kite later, it's fine. All these tricksters are not all linked, so I tag that one on the left by itself, then throw a shield. And we group this and we go. This is half-half, which is, I think, pretty reasonable. I think we could potentially go all, especially on Tyrannical, you want to be going all. But half-half is the safe one. So the way this pull works is there's these useless tricksters that do nothing, and these scavengers, once they hit half, they start trying to drink their potion on a cooldown. So ideally, your group like has damage starting from 50%, but what always happens is people just use their cooldowns from full, and it kind of just works itself out because it's not that hard to do AoE stops on all of them. I'll go into a little bit of detail on them. There's also a Fellhound in both of these pulls, so make sure you kick. A lot of people don't know to focus kick that, but yeah, make sure you kick. These drink ancient potions, make sure you just do AoE stops. For my own cooldown rotation, We'll go over that right now. So it was Sentinel on pull into tier on 5 stacks. I think I tier a bit late here because I realized this pull hurts the tank. We still tier during wings, but it's going to be end of big consecrate. So yeah, tier, end of big consecrate. Then it's tier plus ardent. There's a little bit of overlap. Then once I have big consecrate, I think I'm okay with just big consecrate and ardent. Then once ardent falls, we goak. After goak, we still have bubble. After bubble falls, we have to kite. So we are playing consecrate slow, so if I have to kite, it's not a big deal. Also, so all the way these scavengers work too, when they drink their potion and it goes off, there's 3 things that can happen. So one is they just die, which is, RNG, could happen. 2, they become these spinny guys. They get a buff called hyperactive when they're the spinny guys. Just make sure your melee stay away from them. This is what you want to avoid. Happens, obviously. People may say AoE stops all the time, but yeah, when they get spinny, you got to be careful of them. Keep your distance. They can also get a breath ability called indigestion. I don't think we got any in that pull, so we'll see if we get any here, and I can explain what happens. This is pretty much the same pull. There's just 2 blade guards, so it hurts a little bit more. Okay, we didn't get indigestion, but if there is an indigestion... Actually, wait, is there? Hold on. Let me go back. Okay, so there's no indigestions actually go off. If they get indigestion, the way that one works is he'll track you, he'll keep facing you until he finishes channeling the first time. Then once he's breathing fire, he's going to breathe fire in that direction the whole time. So you can aim it, then once the fire starts breathing, you just move out of the way. Ideally, you aim it into the wall, obviously. Alright, so we invis up here. We want to fight 2 dominators with the boss. These dominators, by the way, are worth the same count as one of the trash mobs at the beginning of the dungeon. And they're way more difficult, so you want to fight as few of them as possible. That's why we fight 2 here. Only fight 2 because we can't really skip them, and we fight them with the boss. The way interrupts work here is DH and Mage on X, I'm on Skull, and Priest is my backup, but you shouldn't need backup. You can just shield one and then kick the other and just rotate your shield and your kick. Or if you get enough shield resets, you can just shield into shield into shield and then kick if you don't get resets. That works too. Alright, so we pull this boss. One mistake I see a lot of people doing is they stand in the middle of the room. That can cause the room to become dirty really quickly with the lines. It's better to walk him around the edge to keep, that way the room will be, the lines will be naturally baited around the edge, so the room is more clean in general. For the gaze, I usually take 2, then DH takes 2. Then I think my debuff falls off, so I take the next one. And then our druid takes... So basically, you just want to rotate between people. This actually cheated me, by the way. This is what's insane to me. I guess I technically didn't have a cooldown, and I got meleeed right before, so yeah. It kind of makes sense. This cheated me. Probably should have used goak. Oh well. This does make the next pull really freaking spicy, so we'll see that coming up. This stomp can also hurt your DPS. Make sure, one shot your DPS, so make sure you are sacking or asking if people need sack the whole time. Our group kind of has it figured out, especially on Fortified, so I don't need to sack them usually. I just sack the DH. When he tanks with Blur, he actually dies if I don't sack him, so yeah, that's where my sack is going. You also have Bop available if you take Bop, which you should take in this dungeon, if things get messy. If a kick goes off from one of these, you can always just Bop someone and they'll live anyway. You can also use Bop for a soak, even if you have debuff, but ideally you don't have to do that. This is DH with Nether. Then I think I soak, or my Druid soaks. Okay, I soak, and then we have Druid with Tank Trinket, I think. Anyway, this boss is pretty easy. Just make sure you have a rotation for the Hateful Gaze. And try not to pollute the room. You notice we are walking around the edge, not going through the middle. And that's that. Alright, so this pull we do all at once. Personally, I prefer fighting down here, but recently there's been a caster spot discovered at the top of the stairs where they can just sit still and not have to dodge anything. So we're fighting in this room. These mobs on high fort actually do hurt with coup de grace. So but this coup de grace you can backstep. So that's one thing I'll be taking advantage of here. Obviously, you just want to have a cooldown running the whole time if possible. You want to be staying in your consecrate if possible too, which I didn't do a great job of there. I think this tier was a little bit early and it may cause me to run out earlier than I wanted to. But basically, I'm running them around like this area, this half of the room. If you bring them too close here, they can jump on your casters and they can die. So we're not doing that. We're just keeping them on this hemisphere of the room and trying to backstep coup de grace as much as possible. Can't really expect to dodge all of them with so little space, but you can dodge like most of them, I guess. Here I got Calp by Volcanic, so I instantly tank Trinket. You kind of want to be rolling a cooldown the whole time. Here it's Bubble, I think, because I'm out of cooldowns. I'd be very surprised if I don't Bubble. Yeah, that's Bubble. This Lancer actually jumped out, so I had to like walk kind of in range of him to Bubble Taunt him. Then we have Toll into Sentinel while backstepping. This pull actually lived a really long time. Without cheat, this pull is actually super spicy too. The Consecrate Slow helps a lot with being able to backstep the coup de grace. If you take every coup de grace to the face, like on high enough fort, you probably will die, especially as a paladin. It's very important to be backstepping these. I think something happened in this pull that I want to show, but it hasn't happened yet. As soon as this Sentinel's over, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be like in massive danger. Yeah, the pull is starting to hurt a lot. Sentinel's over. We have Ardent. Once this Ardent's over, it's like I'm basically got nothing, but the pack is also almost dead. Once you have nothing, by the way, you want to be eyeing your lay on hands. So I was like, oh shit, I'm almost dead. I better be ready to lay on hands. Oh no, I got toward Volcanic, and then I lay on hands in this moment, I think. Then I barely don't die. That was actually spicy as hell. All right, so that's this pull. Basically just run around in a circle, dodge swirlies. We're going to have a cooldown rolling. Be ready to lay on hands if the pack takes forever. So we get to this boss. Ideally, your group has like a cooldown rotation lined up for these bolts. Basically, like use one cooldown for every volley. And also this boss does Unerring Shear, and the Latosius can actually bolt you as the tank. So the scariest is overlap is Unerring Shear with the bolt coming up. So there's the shear, and if the bolt picks me, then it's very dangerous. Paladin does have a little bit of a easier time with this boss because you can bubble off the shear. But you want to use it late in the fight, so like you basically take off as many stacks as possible with the bubble. Bop also removes the stacks, but you don't want to bubble. You don't want to bop because you'd rather bop an ally later. Surprised I used Tank Trinket here. This should be bubble. Okay, yeah, I bubbled anyway. I shouldn't have Tank Trinketed. I should have just bubbled it. Also, when you bubble, you want to bubble the shear that overlaps with one of these bolts if possible. Shear into bolt is basically exactly what you're scared of. Alright, so once we do that, we're going to do the meld tech. As a paladin, this meld tech is a lot harder than as a DH because you personally don't have meld. So the way this works is when he casts Shadow Bolt Volley, if his target, whoever he's targeting, Shadow Melds, then he'll cancel the cast. So we need the first Shadow Bolt Volley to target someone with meld. So we chose that to be the Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter walks away so he doesn't get meleeed when he taunts. 2 seconds left on Shadow Ball Volley, or 1 second he taunts. Then the boss casts Shadow Ball Volley targeting him. Now, the Druid is going to taunt before he melds. Druid taunts at 1.5. And then the DH melds after he sees the taunt, so the cast gets cancelled. Now he's going to cast it again, targeting the Druid, and then the Druid can meld. And then the cast has been delayed enough that we have this buff, and the Shadow Ball Volley is no longer going to be one-shotting us. So that's how the meld tech works, at least for a paladin. As a DH, it's super simple. He just targets you, and you can personally meld it. No one has to taunt off you. They just taunt during the volley, during the first volley. They don't have to taunt, basically, like, they don't have to pre-taunt it. So on this boss, we have sack and bop. We want to be sacking when the person has no defensives, basically, or light defensives, and you want to bop when they're in damage. Usually it's better. Like if my Shadow Priest has cooldowns running, I'll bop him so his cooldowns don't get griefed by the swarm. This boss is pretty easy. Once he gets to this phase, at least for the tank, it's usually pretty simple. As a paladin, obviously you have some more agency. You can use sack and bop. You can also wog heal if your healer's fallen behind. But yeah, as a tank, usually this boss is kind of a snooze fest. So yeah, that's Black or Cold. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, whatever. And if you have any questions, be sure to catch me in chat. Peace out.